Today I have the great fortunate to be talking to Haben Girma, who is a terrific advocate and an author. She just wrote a autobiography of her life, and we're really honored to have you here as a guest on Tuesdays with Liz. So thank you. The first question is, can you tell us a little bit about your professional life as an author and a speaker?
So I was trained as an attorney. I went to law school and studied disability rights, then went into litigation and worked at a law firm fighting disability discrimination. Companies and agencies that violated the Americans with Disabilities Act. I did that for about 3 years, then I switched over to training. There are a lot of people who want to do the right thing and just need help figuring out what to do, how to make our world more accessible. So I do speaking, presentations, consulting to help people become more inclusive. I also wrote a book. The book is called Haben, the Deafblind woman who conquered Harvard Law. And it's a series of stories, fun, engaging stories from my life that teach people to identify ableism. Ableism is the idea that people with disabilities are inferior to the non-disabled. We're not inferior, but society often sends that message. So my book helps people recognize ableism and work to remove it. Thank you for reading my book, Liz. I was thrilled to learn you read it.
You're welcome. I loved it. It was one of the best books I have ever read.
Thank you. I worked hard on it.
And I think I have, by reading your book, I think I know the second answer, but I want you to tell it in your own words. Did you face any discrimination as the first deaf-blind person to graduate from Harvard Law School?
I faced discrimination constantly. Even after I graduated from college and law school, I still faced discrimination. I travel with a guide dog, and every so often, a taxi driver will pull away, cancel the ride, because they see that I have a guide dog. Or a restaurant or store will say, no, you can't come in here. The law says everywhere the public can go, guide dogs can go. But there's still people who don't understand the law and discriminate against people with disabilities. So, yes, I face barriers. I wish I didn't. I wish society would stop discriminating against people with disabilities. And we have a lot of work to do to make our world more inclusive.
Thank you. Can you also share the story, one of my favorite stories in the book, which was about the menu?
Yes. So, and again, I'm glad you love this story because it's one of my favorite stories in the book as well. I went to college at Lewis and Clark in Portland, Oregon. The school did a great job providing me my course materials in Braille, my exams in Braille. They even worked with the outdoor club so that I could participate in rock climbing and kayaking. There was just one barrier at the college. The cafeteria had about 6 different stations, and sighted students would browse a menu, then go to their station of choice. The menu was only in print. I couldn't read it, not because of blindness, but because of the format of the menu. So I went to the manager and asked, can you provide the menu in Braille, or post it online, or email it to me? And the manager says, we're very busy. We have over 1,000 students who don't have time to do special things for students with special needs. Eating is not a special need. Everybody needs to eat. So even though I explained the issue to him, he refused to make it accessible. So I was forced to suffer through. I was a vegetarian back then. It's really hard to eat vegetarian if you don't know what the food choices are. I would go to a station at random, get food, find a table, taste the food, and discover an unpleasant surprise. It was really frustrating. And at first I just tolerated. I told myself, be grateful. At least you get to go to school. At least you have access to food. But we can't accommodate broken institutions or they'll stay broken. We can't accommodate barriers or the barriers will remain there. So finally I did research, talked to advocates, and I went back to the manager and I explained, I'm not asking you to do me a favor. I'm asking you to comply with the law. The law says schools, organizations, cafeterias must provide access to students with disabilities. And if you refuse to make accommodations, I'm going to take legal action. I had no idea how to do that. I couldn't afford an attorney. But I knew that I had to try and do something. Now there are nonprofit legal centers that help students with disabilities. But back then I didn't know that. And the next day the manager apologized and promised to make the menus accessible. He did. He kept his word. I started getting the menus in email format, which was accessible to me. And that experience taught me that if I advocate, I'll remove barriers, and it'll benefit all the students with disabilities who come after me. So that inspired me to go to law school and become an attorney for people with disabilities.
Thanks, and have a nice day, and I'll see you next week. Thanks, Haben.
Thanks, Liz.
Oh.